Since its initial major flight, astronauts have praised the Crew Dragon and declared it the greatest in its class. Since its introduction, the Crew Dragon has completed more missions than any other spacecraft, with astronauts clamoring to board at every opportunity. But what distinguishes it from the competition so much? Welcome back to another exciting video from Informed Now. Today's video is about SpaceX Crew Dragon destroying Souyz and Starline because of this. Before we start the video, please like, subscribe, and press the bell icon. What do these astronauts have to say about it? Join us as we examine Crew Dragon's progress, space flight, and why astronauts adore it. First, improve the rest. Since the concept was originally unveiled in 2014, Crew Dragon has fundamentally altered the American-Russian space competition. The spaceship was created under a $2.6 billion deal. This private crew program, a teardrop capsule, was built on the initial Dragon cargo spacecraft from SpaceX, similar to NASA's Mercury, Apollo, and Gemini capsules and the one Soyuz usage today. The Dragon craft made history in March 2019 when it successfully docked with the International Space Station, making it the first American vehicle to accomplish so on Demo 1. The fact that SpaceX was able to send personnel and cargo to the ISS successfully was a significant victory for the United States and the company. Crew Dragon has launched 36 times since its initial flight, participated in 15 reflow missions, and visited the ISS 33 times. In contrast, Boeing's Starliner doesn't have the same reliability or track record. The business is years behind its initial schedule despite receiving a substantially larger contract for the Starliner's development. The space capsule recently made Rosie the Rocketeer its first unmanned visitor to the ISS, and it intends to make its first crew flight in 2023. However, several problems need to be resolved before it can fly astronauts. The design team at Dragon was entirely focused on building a spacecraft for the 21st century that had exceptional usability and user experience. The vehicle's interior is roomy and has a definite white and black color pattern. Older NASA spacecraft like the Gemini and Apollo faced the space problem. Although the astronauts were always close to one another throughout a flight, this wasn't a problem. Doug Hurley was one of the first NASA employees to ride on Crew. According to Dragon, operating the aircraft was exactly as we had anticipated, which was one of the reasons we wanted to conduct the manual flight test twice. Although NASA generally sends 4 astronauts at a time, the vehicle was altered to have plenty of legroom in a cargo section that can transport up to 7,291 pounds to the International Space Station. The vehicle was originally intended to accommodate 7 astronauts comfortably. In addition, Dragon SpaceX chose touchscreens for the crew rather than the standard spacecraft knobs and buttons. Hurley claims that before opting for touchscreens, SpaceX worked with astronauts to determine which control systems would be most effective for the vehicle. Bob Benin, an astronaut accustomed to piloting NASA spacecraft with various manual controls, applauded SpaceX for designing an interface that was dependable and efficient for the crew's use of touch. John Buell, a SpaceX engineer, oversaw the crew's design. According to Dragon, the vehicle's touchscreens were developed with the user experience in mind and primarily practical. Knowing what we need to do at any particular time is intuitive. The astronauts can interact naturally with the spacecraft's cockpit thanks to the central location of all their controls and readouts, and the touchscreen functionality of their suit gloves. Another thing the crew was praised for was the spacesuits. When the astronauts finally put on the spacesuits that Dragon SpaceX had spent 4 years constructing, they gave it high marks for how well it complemented the rest of their equipment. The suits received a 5-star rating because they were made especially for a specific mission and were made to protect the wearers from flames and other accidents, even though they weren't required to do so. Although it hasn't yet undergone thorough testing, Boeing's Starliner plans to have the same features when it takes off. The capsule has an emergency launch escape system with 8 Super Draco rockets that can each discharge 16,000 pounds of thrust if something goes wrong during takeoff. Parachutes will bring down the astronauts after the lector pushes the capsule away from the rocket. Additionally, Crew Dragon was built to be 2 fault tolerant, which means that even if 2 components, like the thrusters and flight computer, malfunction, the spacecraft can still return the crew to Earth safely. However, the likelihood of this happening is low. Hurley, who piloted the Crew Dragon on its first manned test flight, claims there is no need for concern because the capsule is often safer than a winged aircraft. Dragon is designed to reach the International Space Station independently after taking off from the Kennedy Space Center crew. Additionally, it will dock without human assistance as it gets closer to the outpost. In an interview, Jessica Jensen, head of spaceship mission hardware at SpaceX, described how this is feasible. As the capsule approaches, GPS sensors, cameras, and imagery sensors like lidar are raised on the nose cone to guide it. These sensors offer data to the flight computer, which utilizes it to determine how to effectively fire the thrusters to get the craft to the docking target. When the Crew Dragon took off with astronauts, one of the astronauts on board the International Space Station remarked how incredible it was to see the Crew Dragon approaching the station. And Robert Hines, who visited for the first time in April, described the rocket ride as an exhilarating experience that made his eyes water, even after having a flying fighter career. The spacecraft has a maximum endurance of 210 days. The Crew Dragon undocks autonomously once more and does a deorbit burn with its engines when the astronauts are prepared to re-enter the atmosphere due to the harsh conditions of space. The heat shield at the bottom of the capsule is built to withstand temperatures as hot as the sun's surface. The heat shield is ablative and eventually burns away as the capsule returns to Earth because of the tremendous speed at which it travels through the atmosphere, up to 25 times the speed of sound. The spaceship releases 4 parachutes after its violent fall into Earth's atmosphere to slow it down. Despite being built to land on land, Crew Dragon crashes into the Atlantic Ocean 450 kilometers off the coast of Florida due to a series of explosive failures. There, recovery ships will be able to recover the astronaut and capsule. Hurley recalled how Dragon truly came alive as they re-entered Earth's atmosphere. It started firing its thrusters to keep us moving in the right direction. Nearly continuous thruster firing was occurring. It doesn't have a mechanical sound. It has an animal-like sound, current objective. NASA will likely only ever utilize Russia's Soyuz spacecraft again now that Crew Dragon has been tried and trusted, especially given the deteriorating East-West relationship. NASA must rely on SpaceX to transport astronauts to the International Space Station until Boeing's Starliner is ready, which will be for only a few years. 4 astronauts from Mission 5 were sent on a 6-month mission to replace the ISS crew and returned on October 12. NASA announced in August that SpaceX had been chosen to carry 5 crewed missions to the ISS over the following 6 years. As a result, Crew Dragon now has 14 missions under its belt, compared to Skyliner's 6, which it will begin carrying out in February 2020 with the first crew mission. SpaceX has significant power over the missions thanks to the $1.4 billion contract. The business will continue to transport personnel to the ISS until 2030, when it is anticipated that you will retire from the ISS. Crew Dragon is light years ahead of the Soyuz, Starliner, and Japanese astronauts in innovative design, technology, and engineering. It was rated as the best of the 3 by Souyz Noguchi. It continues to be the only reusable people in a cargo spaceship, enabling humanity to keep a presence in space and lay the groundwork for something. Do you believe that Crew Dragon is superior to Starliner and Soyuz? Thanks for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more exciting content.